Well, happy belated Thanksgiving to everyone. Thank you all for coming here today, and I trust your Thanksgiving was blessed and had a good time and good family time. Now it's time to break up the fallow ground. It's time to get rid of stuff, right? I know we're going into the new year, and as a believer, this is a constant effort on our behalf to always be seeking how to better ourselves, how to better the situation that we're in. We never stop. It's always room for growth. Always. Even when we have a glorified body, there's always going to be room for growth. So don't get it out of your head that once you get to a certain place in your life that's it. There is no plateau. You continue from where you are. And there's always going to be new beginnings, because there's always an end to things for a new beginning. Just remember that. The end doesn't mean the end, as if it's abolished. It just means that there's a new beginning, opportunity for new things to take place. And it doesn't matter at what phase you are in your life, there will always be room for growth. Always be room for growth. So we have to continuously break up the fallow ground. And what I mean by that is that you got to break up the hardness of heart that many times we get stuck in a rut, in a routine. Nothing wrong with disciplines, but when it becomes a routine where there's ineffectiveness in your life, then you're in a rut, and you need to break that off. So change doesn't happen until you make the change. And so the reason why I even wrote this out, reasons for seasons, is because, as you are well aware, there are 4 seasons that we have to deal with. What are they? And I remember last time I had to remember what they are. Winter, spring, right? And this is just a metaphor for what you face in life. Summer. And you're going to have these in your life. Not literally. Literally, yes. But I'm talking about mentally what you go through. And here's the thing, guys. Every season is there as long as you want it to be. So you have to make the decision that this season in my life, I no longer want to stay in. So how much do you want? How much do you want what you want? How bad do you want it? What are you willing to sacrifice in order to obtain it? And it's going to require discipline. So you're going to have to have some disciplines that are on the forefront of your life, in your life, that you'll never get away from. You're going to have a good reading habit. You're going to have a good prayerful life. You're going to have a good video library, a good reading library. You're going to have the things that are necessary for there to be a change. And in spite of where you may be and how you may feel that you are at your most perfect place right now in life, there still is some imperfections in your life that you will have to contend with until Jesus comes. And we have received this blessing that we have today. It's in an earthen vessel, and you will have to contend with this aspect of the aging factor of your body, but it does not eliminate and exclude the productivity that takes place mentally. The only way that happens is the old phrase: if you don't use it, you will lose it. So if you don't use your mind, you will lose your mind. And it is ongoing. So here's what I have received from the Lord, that there is a disease called mental erosion. And it could be a psychological term, and more than likely may be in there somewhere, but there's something that I received from the Lord regarding how our minds, mentally, if we're not utilizing them, will begin to erode over time. And here's the evidence. What's the evidences of erosion? I'm going to give it to you in a nutshell. Don't answer, because then you get all bent out of shape with me. Okay? It's attitude. What kind of attitude, guys? Bad attitude. Okay? A negative attitude. And normally when you look at the winter, spring, summer, fall, there's ways that you can look at something that's not going to change. There's no way that the winter, spring, summer, and fall seasons are going to change. So what needs to change? You have to change. You're the only one that can change how you experience your winter, spring, summer, and fall. That's up to you. And it really does require a discipline that you're going to have to face up to. So let's look at the verse. It's 1 Corinthians chapter 10 and verse number 13. And let's read that verse, 1 Corinthians 10:13. And this is now in the context. And if you want to read the context of it, you're welcome to do so. But this is now the children of Israel. The children of Israel being confronted many times throughout their life. How many things that they have to go through before they actually started living in the blessing, even to this day. There's still some things that are being, that they're fighting against, resisting, right? About being the Christ and so forth. See, they don't understand. Let me say someone who practiced Judaism, not an Israelite, but Judaism, a Jew. They practice that. That's the religious side of it. They practice Judaism, and they don't see themselves subject to the curse. They don't have any questions about tithes and offerings. They give these things knowingly. They don't even have to be asked. They don't even have to do a service like some churches do, a whole sermon on giving because, well, obviously because they need some more giving. But when it comes to the Jews, they walk in, they know firsthand, first and foremost, the number one thing they do before they do anything through the week is give their tithes. They give their tithes every week without a sermon. That's a discipline, guys. They live by the blessing. They live by the blessing because they understand a way of life. This is not a religion. This is a way of life that they practice, and these are disciplines that they've established that God has set in motion. This is from what he said in the future. Yes, by hand I write these, but in the future it'll be written in your hearts. And these are the things that we contend with on a day-to-day basis. There is no way that we can decipher between what is from God and what is not unless we get into the Word. You're going to have to read the Bible. In both fields, in the world of atheism, when it comes to theology and research and historical writings, the Bible is the number one book that's read, both here in the Western society and in the East. So it doesn't matter. The Bible is still a book that must be read for you to succeed in life. If we're going to succeed and be successful in life, you're going to have to read the Bible. Another reading that I would recommend, and I do this and I've read it, and is Think and Grow Rich. And it's a really good read. And it has some disciplines in it that's going to help better you individually. And then the other person is Earl Nightingale. You guys heard me talk about it, right? Have you guys checked any of them out? Okay, well, you should check it out. And I guarantee you it will provoke you and make you think. It's one of those sit-down kind of in-your-face kind of change. And of late, I've been listening to Jim Rohn, so he's definitely inspired me to a greater degree on things that I need to do for myself. I need to do for myself. I'm not saying that for you. Yes, you're included. But however, whatever I'm receiving from the Lord, I'm going to speak that to you. I'm going to talk that to you. And it should be done that way, right? This is not just one-sided. So here we read in verse number 13, it says, there has no temptation, this is regular King James, taken you but such as is what? Common. So what is common? We got winter, spring, summer, fall. Is that common? Yes. Is day and night, is that common? Can we stop any of these things? No. But we do have a place that we'll see in Scripture where we can take authority over certain scenarios that we're confronted with. These things do not have to dictate to us how some people are in their heads about the gloomy day. If it's a gloomy day, then you are gloomy. Your feelings, emotions are gloomy. If it's a sunny day, then you're happy. Bright and sunny. Well, that's not the way we live our lives. It doesn't matter where you are. You are the only one that determines how you are in the winter, spring, summer, and fall. But remember, remember what I asked you guys to do, and this is something you should do on your own, is to what? List your what? Reasons. Thank you, Eric. Hey, that's right. I made it up for last week. list your list your reasons. What was the other phrase that we came up with? Another title. List your what? What? What'd you say? Change. List your change, because reasons are a list of what will change in your life. Why do you have the reasons? That's what you want to change. This is a reason. Now, motivation, that's the other one, right? List your what? Your what? Motivations. Right? What's your motivation, guys? What is your motivation? First and foremost, usually it's your family. Usually. That's your motivation. This is why I do what I do, because I care for my wife, I care for my children, I care for my grandchildren now, and as it goes on, I care for you. So there's reasons why I do what I do. So I can list my motivation as well, and that keeps me inspired. I want to help. I want to be that greater blessing. And I can't do it unless I'm doing what I need to do to avoid this aspect of our lives. Mental erosion. So now here, let me ask you this. Motivationally, yes. List your reasons. So do you change? Let me ask you that. Do you make changes to your life? Okay, so in doing so, what is the reason? Is it merely for yourself? Hear how I said it, guys. The question is to provoke that thinking. Is it merely for yourself? Remember, Jesus' philosophy for life was Luke 9:23. If any man will come after me, let him what? Deny himself, take up his cross daily, and follow me. If you go only to you are your own reason for why you are making your change. You are going to lose heart in it. And you will eventually eliminate relationships. That will happen. So when a person becomes selfish in what they do, then it's going to end up being where you'll be alone in this, or I should say lonely in this. Not alone. Lonely. Different emotion involved with that. So there's common things that we do every single day, and there's things that you can do. And so we got to start off with our list. And that list has to have some reasons for why you do what you do. Motivational. What's my drive? What is my purpose? Why am I motivated to do this? Why am I on fire? Why do I not just give up the ghost? Screw this. You know what? Forget this world. Forget everything that's going on in our country, man. Later for you, and just go out there and let everything happen the way it's happening, and become a part of the flow of the negativity, because it is a flow, and we can end up getting into this place of throwing in the towel, of surrendering, of giving up. Say, forget it. I'm tired of the discipline. I don't care what you say, Pastor. Matter of fact, I'm not coming to church no more. I'm done with this. And some people have done it. And unfortunately, what we have had with the excuse of COVID-19, the excuse to excuse people from going to church. It's become an excuse. And the discipline for church going, which is a mandate from God, is not something that just came. Think about it, guys. The church just came out of the blue here. Where did this just happen? Man-made. Man made this. Man-made church. And we understand this. You all know that this is not the church. Who's the church? We are the church. All right? But it says in Hebrews chapter 10 not to what? Forsake the assembling of yourselves. Why? Why not? You have apostle, prophet, evangelist, pastor, teacher. For what? Perfecting of the saints. There is a reason why Jesus, the head of the church, who's the head? Who's the head? Said to congregate together, come together, fellowship with one another, because everyone does it, guys. In the world, they do it. They go to the bar, and they do it. They congregate and have fellowship. They go to, what do they call where they go dancing. What is it called today? What's the phrase? A meat market? That's another way of looking at it. But what's the name now? It's not it's just a club, right? Well, what do you go for? What do you go for? Express yourself. Find some means of being able to be fulfilled. For ladies to be fulfilled, and for guys to get some. You know what I'm talking about? So that there's something that comes along with it. Now, church shouldn't be that way. Church should come, when you come to church, you should come to church ready to be challenged. If you come always to be comfortable, you're missing the point here. Church is not about being comfortable. Think about it. Perfection has to do with you correcting something in your life. You can't do it in and of yourself, or else you would have done it. On top of that, you have what is known as accountability. Things that you do on purpose to make yourself worthy of what you are called to do. The vocation, that vocation you have, worthy of it. You can have a vocation and be unworthy. This is how that happens. You are your own God. You are your own supply. You are the only one, and it's the reason why you have what you have today, because it's all about you. When we exclude God from who is the source, and we all know this, there's a source to something. When we exclude the source, now you become your own God. In essence, you have now allowed for idolatry to set in. You are your own idol. What does it mean to idol? A couple things, right? We can talk about it from the place of a vehicle. You put it in neutral, you can be idle, or in park it's idle. You got the engine on, but it ain't going nowhere. And then there's the other side of it, where it is the place that you are allowing your mind to praise what you do rather than to praise the one who supplied what you do. Because you have to go to the acknowledgement of it. And what does that do to your attitude? It keeps you what? Humble. Willing to yield. Willing to learn. And you have to do it. It's the one thing that kicked Lucifer out of heaven. He wanted to become God, his own God. That's what kicked him out of heaven, right? So we don't want to be in that place. You don't want to be, as Jesus told those religious leaders, you are of your father, the devil. And no, we're not in that category, right? We're children of the Most High God. But we don't want to act like Satan. Hallelujah. And it's, you think about it. There are certain things that are common. And so this is the reason why. We got to get it out of our heads that we cannot make the decision to do what we need to do. Most of the time we're looking at something and we're saying, I just don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. Like the Master of Disguise. I don't know what to do. Too many movies. But the point is that if you don't make the decision to do something, that's it. Do something. Take that step. But do not exclude God from the steps you make. Many are the plans in a man's heart, but it is the Lord's direction, his word. He's the one that's going to give you some direction. Will order your steps. Get some order to where you're going. How many times do we have to experience the effects of wrong decisions? How long it takes. But how long is that season, guys? How long is that season? How long are we going to stay there? So this is where you make the decision now based off of what God says in his word. There's no temptation. And you think about temptation as anything that you would consider that will sway you off the course. Sway you off the course. Hey, let's go to Hosea. And it's a very familiar verse to you. And I'm going to give you a reading assignment. This is going to take you some time to do so, but I encourage for you to do it. we usually go right here, Hosea chapter 4, verse number 6. And we assume that that's the whole book. Hosea 4:6. So keep this in mind, that when you read the book, I want you guys to read the book. It's only 14 chapters. They're not very long chapters at that. Okay? Read the book, and you will see why Hosea 4:6 is stated. Okay? There was a whole lot of idolatry, whoredom, illicit sexual activity. There were things that were being done because, let's read the verse. My people, who are the Israelites, my people, and we're going to say, okay, we're here in the body of Christ. My people are what? Destroyed for a lack of knowledge because the priest, the leader, has rejected knowledge. No, that's the context of it. The priest rejected the knowledge. So they were misleading the people. They were misleading them. And in our day today, we have as known as what is political correctness. And we assume that's a respectful manner position, which it does have some respect in it. But truth is truth, guys. And so when we start to compromise our values, now you're surrendering over to an idolatry. And the land was impacted. I'm telling you, what we're experiencing, what we see in the different lands that go through what they go through, is a result, direct result of the sin in the land. Literally impacting the land because of people. But now we're talking about a leader. He says, my people are destroyed for lack of knowledge because you, priest, have rejected knowledge. I will also reject you, priest, that you will not be priest to me, seeing you have forgotten the norm. See that? What does it say there? The law of your God. The norm. I will also forget your children. So it's important for you guys to have some biblical principles, because there should be some biblical norms that you have in your life. But how are you going to know that if you don't read your Bible? How are you going to know that? Like I jokingly say, ask the question, did you pray today? And in the back of your head, you bless your food. But the question is not, did you bless your food? Did you pray today? Simple practice that should be done every day. An apple a day keeps the doctor away. Simple practice. Because it's so simple to do, we simply don't do it. And it's something that you have to have in your heart. You have to set it as a part of your discipline. Why do you drink water? Because it tastes good? I don't get it. There is no taste to water. I only drink water because I know it's good for me. So it's a discipline. If I don't drink water, y'all know what happens when you don't drink water, right? A lot of bile gets stuck in you. And then what happens is that now we start whining and crying about cancer and sickness and all these things that come on us, in some cases. But you start, going through stuff psychologically, and we assume that, where's God? But remember this. They rejected what? His law. The law of God. The things that you should be doing. That we all should be doing. Right? So as we do so, then what's going to happen? There will be change. When you line up with God's law, because the thing about life is that all these chaff things, you know what I mean by chaff, the wheat and the chaff that covers the wheat, all that stuff that's unusable things, it starts layering on us. So the winds of life, the winds of change are going to come, and that pitchfork is going to be stuck in you, and you're going to be thrown up in the air, and either this chaff is going to come off you or it's going to stay on you, and you're going to have baggage on you, extra weight. That's why the Bible calls it, Hebrews chapter 12, the weight of sin besets us or sets us back. What are you dealing with? You're dealing with guilt, shame, and condemnation. Why should that be even an issue for a believer? Why should sin? That's why I don't really focus in on sin, guys. I don't focus in on sin. I focus in on what you need to do in order to obtain what you need to do. You have vision, you rid yourself of having time for sin. But you gotta be, how hungry are you? How hungry? I was going to say it like blasting. How hungry? How hungry are you? Are you hungry for what you want? Are you hungry for it? And remember this, leaders, as a leader, are you all leaders? Say it again. Are you all leaders? Okay, then you don't need to be motivated. Leaders are self-motivated. I don't need someone to motivate me to do what I'm doing in life. Now, I understand encouragement, okay? As long as you're a baby, that's fine. You need that encouragement. But after you grow up, then there should be some expectation, or there should be a level of maturity in your life that doesn't require a constant babying for you to get going here. Right? I mean, I see that with my baby granddaughter, and Rory too, but I'm going to use Indy. And she'll go in the corner, and she thinks she's hiding, and she's standing there. And I say, "Oh, look, well, where's Indy?" And it's like, "Oh, there she is." And then she gets all happy. If I see my wife standing in the corner, yes. Oh, there you are. You see me standing in the corner, you say, "How can you miss me?" No. But do you understand where I'm going with this and how I am encouraging you, but I am also doing what God. What is God doing, guys? What is God doing here? What is God doing? Think about it. Most of the time people will be thinking, well, where is he? Where is God? What is God doing? God trusts himself. He trusts his word, and he sees how much he values you, so then he allows you to grow up. Under the Old Testament, did people hear God's voice? Did Moses see God? Yeah, he didn't see his face, but he saw him, saw his back, right? Well, back then, there was no Holy Spirit in us. For as many as are led by the Spirit of God, these are called what? Not babies. Sons of God. Sons of God. That means I'm listening to someone based on my communication that I have chosen to have on a daily basis. I choose to get up every morning to do my daily devotions with me and the Lord, and talking to God and letting him talk to me. A lot of times, there's many times I don't say nothing. I just listen. Because I need directives. I don't know about you. I don't have all the answers. So I need some guidance. Lord, I need your help on this. I need your help. Because I'm not seeing it. It's just not there mentally. And remember this. The Spirit of God speaks to your spirit. And it's up to you to listen to it in your head. So you know why people, and while I'm saying this, go to 2 Chronicles chapter 15. And do you know why people don't hear? Because their heads are hardened through disappointment. That's why they don't hear. They can't hear it. Because what are they looking at? They're looking at their winter, spring, summer, and fall. Hey, just the other day we were just having a conversation about the snow and summer and everything else. Well, you know, when it's hot, a lot of people are always trying to get into air conditioning. When I'm outside and I'm working a job outside, I accept that I'm going to sweat. That's it. And there is no fussing and fighting about it. I just need to make sure to drink water and hydrate. So I'm fighting against these elements, as it were, outside circumstances that are never going to change. Those are not going to change. The only way it's going to change is if I change. I have to change. So what do we need to change? Your attitude. In essence, what you're changing, when you change your attitude, you know what you're changing? Is your belief system. Yeah, your heart, it's the same thing. Belief system. How you believe, what you believe. Okay, look at this. What did it say? 2 Chronicles 15:3. Now for a long season, Israel has been without the true God, and without a teaching priest, and without law. How do you function in life like that? How? It doesn't work. You know, you get a Bill Gates, Warren Buffett, Elon Musk, and they speak. When they speak, you listen. Why? What's the motivation? And see, that's the heart. But also because of what they have. Now we know they have what they have because we of better believing, not that other people don't believe, but we of better believing, maybe not the best, but we're working on it, know that there's a way to get there. And it doesn't just happen. Nothing just happens. Think about it. If it just happened, I mean, God just performed miracles, man. Just do it. I'm okay with it. Just do it. It doesn't just happen. You have to do something. You got to do what most Christians, they avoid that 4-letter word called work. I mean, you should avoid all those other 4-letter words. Okay, so look at, without God, without someone to teach you, the priest, and without the norm, how do we expect for our children to grow up in an environment that's going to be believing in God when we ourselves are not being fortified with what we need? We need to have this fortification, right? All right. So, what do you need to do in order for you to obtain the things that you desire? What do you got to do? What do you got to do? What do you got to do? Make a list, guys. You got to make a list. If you do not plan your life, you're planning to fail. It's not my saying. It's how I'm saying it. But do you get the point? If you don't plan, you don't have a plan. Like, okay, so I have this filtration system at the house for the swimming pool, and it's a very annoying system. It's very annoying. It's a lot of work involved with this, and so I work here a couple of days out of the week here, and I do the filtration system here, and they have a different setup. It's called Pantera. It's a Pantera filter. It's just the name of it, or Hayward, one of the others. I have a Jandy, the Jandy, which is fine. It's a great thing, and no disrespect to all these things. Okay, but the DE, diametrous earth, bleeds into the pool over time. And you know what you have to do in order for, I don't know, you guys that may not know, you don't know what to do. You got to get a vacuum, and you have to connect it to your skimmer, to start vacuuming out all that DE that came into the pool, and you got to do it every now and then. It's annoying. Every 3 to 6 months, you got to drain the whole filter, take it off, and then where to put all that DE that's off of those grids. Where do you throw it? And at first, I was just dumping it down the drain, but that's not working well. So I started skimming it off, putting it into a trash can. I'm giving you my feelings in this, guys. My thought process. So I said, why am I subjecting myself to something that is annoying? Wasting my time. And that's what it is. We're always looking to do things in a better way. So I started looking up different filtration systems. Come to find out, they're pretty pricey. They're up there. Then I started evaluating, studying. So now this is now a priority list on my list. Change my filter system. That's on my list. I have a list. We did a workshop 2 weeks ago, and we listed 50 things that we want to accomplish. Okay? And we're going to get a little further into it. We're going to break that down, so we're going to have so many, okay? But now, one of those things is that filtration system. I don't want it no more. So now I started looking it up, and I started seeing how much it's going to cost. It's the whole unit. I was like, wait a second. I'm looking at the filtration system for DE and the filters for cartridge, and the housing is still the same. Wait a minute. I can change the internal mechanism of this thing, and it's the same thing. And I'm saving myself $1,000, and I can just change. We can just change. If you're listening, those of you that know how to work on pools, you can change the inside. And you're going to only spend like $300 to $400. Well, I started studying it out, guys. Now what am I doing? I have a list for the cost of the things I need. I have a list for what I need to do in order to get those finances. I made a list of priorities, and actually became a plan. I have a plan to do something. So, that is how you change things. If I don't have a plan, it's not going to change. I have to have a plan of attack. You with me on this? So what determines how you succeed during your seasons? What determines that? Your attitude. Got to have the right attitude. Remember that your attitude determines your altitude. You know, how far you go in life. That's an old cliche. So how does God provide the way of an escape? Because remember that 2 Corinthians chapter 10, verse 13, 1 Corinthians 10, 13, where he says, there's nothing, no temptation taking you, but such as is common to man, but God is faithful, who will not allow you to be tempted above that you are able, but will with the temptation also make a what? Way of escape. So what is your way of escape? Because you're not going to get away from winter, spring, summer, and fall. They're all going to be there. What's your way of escape? Your attitude. Your mental attitude. Because now that's going to become your motivation to your faith. What you do. Remember, your attitude is what you believe. And whatever the mind can conceive and believe, it can achieve. Right? So when you start to think this way, you start changing that. And that's why, once again, do I need to do a lesson on sin, guys? Do y'all know what sin is? I don't need to do a lesson on sin. I need to get your mindset out of sin, so that way you start focusing in on what you are able to do, because what God put in you was not to sin, but for you to live a life of victory. Enjoy your life to the full. I don't even have to explain about any of this stuff. Y'all know it. Let's go to Mark chapter 11. And a very familiar verse to us, but I want you to notice that no matter what, winter, spring, summer, fall, doesn't matter what you face in life, you can make a change in it. during that season, you can make that season, you can change it. You can change how you are in dealing with that season. Okay? So, dealing with natural things, how did Jesus deal with it? What did he do? Well, Mark 11, verses 12 through 14. And then we're going to go to verses 20 through 24. Okay? So he says, the next day, this is NIV, as they were leaving Bethany, Jesus was hungry. Seeing in the distance a fig tree in leaf. What does that imply? There should be fruit on there, right? Because he saw the leaf. If there's leaves on it, that means the fig tree should be bearing fruit, right? All right. In leaf, he want to find out if it doesn't seem right. Huh? Seeing in the distance a fig tree in leaf, he went to find out if it had any fruit. When he reached it, he found nothing but leaves. Nothing but leaves, because it was not the season for figs. Do you think Jesus knew that? He was raised up in that time, right? But if you see a tree with leaves on it, a fig tree, it's supposed to have fruit. Supposed to have fruit. Then he said to the tree, because there was no figs on it, may no one ever eat from you again. And his disciples heard him say it. Now down to verse number 20. He says, in the morning, as they went along, that next day, that morning, they saw the fig tree withered from the roots. Peter remembered and said to Jesus, Rabbi, look, the fig tree you cursed has withered. Jesus' reply to that was, have faith in God, guys. Have faith in God. Understand where I'm going with this. This is a natural thing, something that normally happens, that should be there, that did not happen. What did he do? He rendered it useless. He got rid of it. Certain things, are no longer useful to you. So you have to get rid of it. There are certain ways that we used to find some comfort. So now we got to, yes. Yeah, potato chips. Now we have to make that change for there to be a change, right? Isn't that right? So Jesus said, have faith in God. Jesus answered. He says, truly I tell you, if anyone says to this mountain, go throw yourself into the sea, and does not doubt in their what? And remember that heart is where? Point to it right here. Not your muscle heart. Most of the time, I felt it in my spirit. No, that's not your spirit. That's a muscle, emotional reaction to your muscle heart that you feel when you feel that heat and that from an embarrassing situation and changing your color and pigmentation, all that. It's the blood is rushing through your body because it impacted your heart from what you were thinking. So however you think, because that's a misnomer. I felt it in my spirit. No, you didn't. That's not your spirit. Your spirit's not that little compartment in there. That's a muscle heart. You are a person, and you think. So however you think is going to impact your physical body. Right? So you are what? Spirit. You have a what? Soul, and you live where? In a body. You are not a soul, and you are not a body. You are a spirit being. So as a spirit being, we're supposed to be in charge of the way we think and what results in our physical body. Right? We're all in this together. So remember, truly I tell you, if anyone says to this mountain, go throw yourself into the sea, and does not doubt in his heart, but believes that what he says will happen, it will be done for them. Therefore I tell you, whatever you ask in prayer, and I really like the original King James because it says the word desire. Whatever you desire, what things you desire. Usually what you desire, where do you go? You go to prayer with this, and you're going to go before the Lord. Lord, I'm committing this to you. This is in your hands, and I'm trusting you in this. I thank you, Father, that the works of my hands are blessed, and that it's prosperous and successful in Jesus' name. That should be the norm for us as what? Believers. We're believers, right? Therefore, I tell you, whatever you ask or desire for in prayer, believe that you have received it, and it will be yours. Let's go to Proverbs chapter 15 and verse number 23. Here's the key to directing your attitude. The key is to have the right mental attitude and saying the right thing. If you don't say the right thing, then your faith is not being built as it relates to how you think. So remember, we're convincing continuously, we're convincing our minds on how we're supposed to think. Remember, Abraham was fully what? Persuaded. What was persuaded? His own thinking, right? But he needed the word in order for that to happen. So Proverbs 15:23 says, a man has joy by the answer of his mouth, and a word spoken in due season. See, and here's the thing, guys. How long is the season? So it's supposed to be like a certain amount of months. Winter, spring, summer, fall. It's only supposed to be a certain amount of months. But how long is your winter? How long are you allowing for that winter to stay there, even through summer days? So you got to determine, how am I going to deal with this season in my life? Remember, the season is not meant to stay. It's meant to pass. You're supposed to go through, not stay in. I walk through the valley, not stay in the valley. So if we're focusing all our attention on the negativities of life, then you stay in the valley, guys. You stay in the winter. We got to spring out from winter. So in due season, it says, a man has joy by the answer of his mouth, and a word spoken in due season. Because you got to have the right word to speak into the season. And we're here now, we're talking about a producing fruit, right? A producing time, because of season and when something is going to happen. What does Psalm chapter 1 say to us? Blessed is the man who walks not in the counsel of the ungodly, nor stands in the way of sinners, nor sits in the seat of the scornful. But his delight is in the law of the Lord, and in his law does he meditate day and night. And he shall be like a what? Tree planted by the rivers of water that brings forth its fruit in when? In its season. See, and we got to have the word for the season. The word for the season. What is your word? Don't go off of me. What is your word from God? What is your word from God that's going to dictate how you deal with the season? What is that word? Between you and God. And you know what? You really don't have to be explaining and sharing everything with everybody. You know, you have your confidants, your spouse, your family members. But you don't need to go all across the world and do it. You do what you're supposed to do. Nobody needs to say, you don't need to go out and start bragging about losing weight, because people are going to know it. It's going to happen. You'll be able to see it. Yeah, I've been praying. Yes, and I've been in the Word. I've been praying. That's it. You know, the higher the gloss, the cheaper the quality. And you start talking stuff, that means that potentially you haven't been. Don't give yourself away. Your insecurities are showing. Okay. So you see this? How important it is to have the right words. He said, what things soever you desire when you pray, believe that you receive them and you shall have them. But it has to do with the desire. Now we're talking, what kind of desire do you need to have? And we can make an emphasis on this. A burning desire, or a passionate desire, an emotional desire. You're going to have some feelings. I guarantee you, you guys are talking something. When the emotions come, you are speaking. Have you ever had a disagreement? Emotions are high. What happens? You speak. So we got to be able to be controlled in how we say things, because a word spoken in due season. Because that season needs to be addressed. We cannot allow for what that season wants to do to us. Make us feel a certain way. No. We are in control of how I think, how I believe, what my attitude is about the season. I'm not going to let that dictate to me, because I have a vision. God put a vision in me, and I'm not blinded to it. You know what I mean? Not blinded by the vision where I don't see nothing else going on. faith calls it what it is. Faith says you're too fat. And then he says, now address it. Faith says you are illiterate. Now address it. Faith says you lack knowledge. Now address it. Faith is not blind, guys. Faith deals with things. Yes. So I have to stop now. I'm actually over my time, sorry. Excuse me. All right. Praise the Lord. Did you all receive today? All right. If you're going to be giving to our ministry, please use Venmo as a means of sowing into this ministry. Faithwired is the name. Wired, because there is a faith wire. We want faith wired. And as you do give, know that that seed is being planted into good soil. We stand in agreement. I stand in agreement with your faith that for those of you that are here that are going to be giving into our ministry, I pray and release the blessing of God and stand in agreement for the corresponding return on the seed that you're sowing right now by faith. We have a year of 2023 coming around the corner, guys. Things are changing. And so we're believing for increase. We're believing, say, I'm believing. I'm believing for increase. So as you do believe, you're practicing the principle of sowing and reaping. Whatever you sow, it's going to come back to you. Sow from your heart, sow from love. Never give grudgingly. Always give from a cheerful heart, knowing that God blesses the cheerful attitude of what you're sowing. So stay in that attitude of giving and know that it's from a motive of love. And we want to thank you in advance for your faithful continued support of this ministry. So thank you so much.